Wells only and his guests are not responsible for any losses you may accrue for having weak hands. Where the haters at? Y'all bitches still ain't showed up. And now, right, we got Hex, flawless uptime.
This is Wales only. Glad you guys can make it out. I'm making some claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there, so don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're gonna pay the consequences for that, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's the secret. The guy well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. These motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. Man, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all's deep. Everybody. My God. Ex-Asians, bro. Everybody. Australians, man. Everybody gets it. Yo, when is it told you? Dollar told you. Everybody done told you. It's crazy. What up, everybody? Hope everybody's having an outstanding Saturday. Figured we have a little chat, given that everything is still falling apart around us. I figured I'd take the opportunity to just rehash some of the salient points that I've been hammering down on how things work and how they don't work from day one. Because what are we seeing? Well, if you're paying attention to any kind of news, what you're noticing is that all of a sudden, companies are up for sale. Companies that you didn't know were companies because they were supposed to be crypto. So how the hell are they companies? Interesting. No? Yes. Because this is exactly what I've been telling you guys for 18 months. Cryptocurrencies do not have CEOs. They do not have COOs. They do not have any titled positions unless they're tokenized equity, right? I think MAD is a good example of that. MAD Energy. I think they're probably one of the first to do it. Maybe MCA will do something like that in the future because it makes sense, right? Because you want people that are vested, that have a vested interest, let me rephrase, to actually support the entity that's doing what's being done, right? And this is kind of that's what the democratization of finance is. Because just like what we did with the trust, or what we're doing with the trust, only accredited investors can invest, right? Not just you, not just any regular old schmo. It's only a specific group of people that have a specific financial situation. They're the only ones that can invest in the trust because that is how those rules are laid out, right? So it's not like people are choosing, like, okay, yeah, only these people can invest in this thing here. No. That's literally how it works, right? And the thing about it is all of these things, I've been talking about them for a year plus, and here we are, just watching the whole fake crypto space disintegrate because it's fake. It's not cryptocurrency. It's not. It's not. You had your money in there. Well, I hope you learned your lesson because your ass was told. There's even a song. Everybody done told you. Counterparty risk equals no cryptocurrency. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Like I've been saying from day one. Straightforward. You want to win in this game, you got to understand what you're doing with your money. It's not an opinion either. That's a fact. So you keep taking things personal and emotionally, and guess what? They're going to continually get you wrecked. Because it's not about right or wrong. It's about truth and fact. Opinion is fiction. We don't do fiction around here. We stick to facts, probabilities. The most probabilistic outcomes are typically based on what is already going on around you. If you're not paying attention, you get blindsided. You get blindsided, you get left holding a bag. Just like all them Celsius fools and whoever else is out there holding a bag right now. There's so many, I don't even know. Maybe we'll find a list and go through it later on. Because it's nonstop. And it's to the point that it's not just a coin. We're talking about companies, people losing jobs, right? This is actually happening. And it's not supposed to be. It's not. But I mean, people out here, they can't find employees. How the hell are people firing people? It literally makes no sense, but it's happening. And it's your job as an investor, trader, whatever you want to call yourself, because it actually doesn't matter. Because your whole objective is the same, regardless of time frame. It's only on how you slice and dice that defines it. Right? Because look at all the people that thought they were playing to win on the short time frames, buying dips while the market was just getting slam dunked. Where are they now? They're probably not even watching this stream, and they should be. And that's the sad part, because the worst thing you can do is quit. Literally the worst thing you can do. Because how do you recuperate your losses if you don't continue? You cannot. You gave them to the market permanently. Right? I mean, this is true. And people got to think about that, because that's what's really happening when you transact in the market and it doesn't go your way. You lose. And people think that they can't lose in crypto, but the funny thing is you're more liable to get wrecked in crypto than anywhere else. Because what people don't realize is that when you're putting your money in a smart contract or whatever it is, a piece of software, a piece of code, if it's not actually a piece of code or an actual piece of software, then that means that there's a middleman involved. It's not running alone. It's not standalone. So you just set yourself up for the kill. It's like going outside and not being prepared to be outside. You just played yourself. Because if somebody decides to check you, guess what? They're going to have all the fun they want with you. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that's real life. And the markets are no different. And this is the biggest misconception that exists in the promised coin space. How do we combat this? Well, we don't. Right? We literally don't combat this. Because the whole idea is that you don't do any of the stuff that Wall Street does. Period. And people do not want to respect that fact. And guess what? Those are the fools that are going to get wrecked, and they're not going to be around for long. They don't fucking matter at all. They're irrelevant. Take notes. Things are happening in real time around you. The markets don't care. Do they look like they care? Look at your P&L. If you bought at 50 cents, does it look like the market cares? No, it's at 5 cents. You're down 90%. Those are the markets. That's why you stake. That's literally why staking exists. So you don't sell the low. So you don't put yourself in a position where you're over it reaching with your capital. because you don't want to do that. You want to make money. And this is obvious, but people don't treat it as such. And this is kind of what's very important, because you're not watching me to learn how to lose money. I mean, I don't talk about that, but maybe we should. Because the reality is, for me, until I learned how to lose, I didn't know how to win. How do you manage risk, right? If you're out here participating in markets where there's somebody on the other side of you, well, you're automatically taking on counterparty risk. This is a fact. It doesn't matter the market, because what's happening? Well, you're saying, I want to buy a futures contract, I want to buy an FX contract, I want to buy a stock. Whatever it is, literally doesn't matter. Legacy finance works with middlemen only. Anything replicating that is not fucking crypto. Period. You don't gotta fucking like it. But those are just the facts. Look at the people getting extra fucking wrecked right now. How many folks lost everything in Celsius? Lost everything in Luna? Because they thought they knew what the fuck they were doing. But guess what? They didn't. Don't become another statistic. Educate yourself. Take the information that's provided. Study it. Understand it. Don't take anybody's word at face value. Have your own assessment of the information. How else are you going to make an intelligent decision if you're basing it off somebody else's commentary or thoughts? It's not your own. You're going to get wrecked every single time. No doubt about it. Just the way it works. I'm comfortable buying Hex at 50 cents, knowing it's worth $10,000 or more. You think I give a fuck about a 95% drop? You're a moron. You don't understand what Hex is if you give a fuck about a 95% drop from 50 cents. You see, those are the facts. And if you look around you right now in this battlefield that is this current point in time in these markets, that's what you see. You see everything else falling apart. And Hex is just humming along on the fast rail, in the fast lane. Pick your mode of transportation. This is happening to people you know, and they're not even telling you. Another fact you might not know. Because again, what's happening? Well, you might be introducing them to Hex. You might be introducing them to crypto. But guess what? Everybody has their own mind. They go off searching on their own. And they think they know what they're doing because you introduced them to something. But when they stop talking to you about the shit, that means they're doing their own investigation. They're doing their own work. And typically, that implies somebody's getting their pocket washed out because they're testing the waters. Instead of just aping into an investment that's going to make them money. Now, when I first came on the scene, I told everybody about all the furus, called them all out. And look at where all this shit ended up. I mean, you got to start calling these guys out. You don't get their attention so that they can promote Hex. No, you got to start calling them out because they're frauds. They are the literal frauds. Not the Big Connect people. These people are the fucking frauds. If you don't know what a fraud is, you should look into it because it's literally happening in your face. Literally. Because guess what? We got a whole list. We got a whole list. And we had a whole list of fools. I done a stream with Funny Jim about this. A whole list about how these fools get paid, and make money off of selling you scams. Because that's what they do. They're selling you scams. What are you getting from these? You ain't getting nothing from these scams. You just getting robbed. I mean, imagine you're out here talking about uh, people not doxing themselves, whatever for these projects. And it's the people showing you their faces, not hiding, portraying a character in your face that are jacking you for your chips. And what are you going to do about it? I mean, all of these entities right here that you're looking at right now, plenty of people talked about them positively. Outside of this community, all of these entities were getting pushed by the Furus. Hell, Furu right here. This is a hedge fund. They should have known better. Another one, hedge fund, should have known better. Clearly not. Because here's the thing. When I first came on the scene, I remember hearing all this nonsense about, oh, public this, public that. Well, how'd that shit work out for you motherfuckers following these clowns that were showing their faces? Not too motherfucking well, huh? Not too motherfucking well at all. How about that shit right there? Because damn, I sure as hell am 100 motherfucking 50,000% right on this shit. And guess what? I ain't showing my face. I ain't asking you for shit. I ain't selling you shit neither. I'm just giving you factual information that you need to go verify for yourself. Just like I say every time I'm on stream. So do it. Don't rely on others. And definitely don't come bitching at me when some shit don't go your way. Because I get plenty of that too. And those are clearly the plebs. Clearly. So if you don't know the name of the game, get out. You don't belong in it. The market will take your money. It's like an ocean. And you are your own ship. Now, what happens when you don't know how to sail a ship in the ocean? Not good things. That's for sure. Not good things. Good things do not happen when you don't know how to sail your ship in the ocean. Yes, of course not. People drown, ships sink, all craziness. Just runs amok. Now, if you're letting somebody else steer your ship, how can you be confident that they're not going to sink it? I mean, this is what you're doing when you're watching these streams. You're assuming the person talking to you on the other side has a fucking clue. When in fact, you might not even be hearing them correctly, because I get a whole lot of that one right there. Because I understand what I'm saying, and I understand that everybody might not understand what I'm saying. Because I'm the one saying it. And I have to say it in a way where as many people can understand as possible. So I can't be catering to every single individual. It's literally impossible, no matter how much I would like to. So by default, that means you got to put in work, whether you like it or not. You gotta put in the work. Not optional. So look at this. These are just the ones you know. All right. These are just the ones you know of. And here's the thing. You got 3 columns, right? You got firm description. All right, 4. Name of the firm, firm description, relevant stats, which means they're not giving you everything, if anything, current status. Now we're going to go through line by line because I really want you guys to understand how none of this shit is fucking crypto. None of it. I don't give a fuck where it is, what contract address they might be pushing, yada, yada, yada. Don't matter. I mean, if them going bankrupt does not teach you something, then nothing will. And you should literally exit because you're going to just lose your money. Doesn't matter how lucky you get in the interim, you will eventually lose your money. The person that does not respect their pocket, the pocket does not respect them back. Period. So let's go with to start off with the Cinderella of the bunch. Celsius. It's described as a lender, interestingly enough. Because I've never heard anybody that's talked to me about it describe it in such a way. Something to think about. Fake crypto people. Relevant stats. 11.8 billion crypto under custody. Is that really true? Well, that was as a month ago. Month and a week. And a day. Now the question is, what's the value today? Are they stopping the clock on the book or are they letting it run? What exactly are they doing? Because guess what? You just can't get your money back. Tough shit. Whatever money is left anyway. Now here's something you should probably know. In legacy finance, what do they do when volatility rings up like this? Well, they do a myriad of things. And it's essentially all the same crap they're doing here. They try to stop people from shorting the market. They try to stop people from withdrawing money. They try to stop people from having outsized positions. They increase the cost to trade. They do what they can to get people out of the market. Think about that. This is legacy finance now. Now look at this damn current status for each one. In crypto, now hold on. Let me stop playing myself here. Let's go to step one. Let's go to step one. Because this needs to be done like at least once a quarter. Let's see here. All right. This is a definition of a cryptocurrency. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. That's it. That's crypto. That's exactly what it is. That's all. That's step one. Once you get that, you're good. You can move on to step two, which is understanding that cryptocurrency is software. Because those two things are tied together. You cannot have one without the other. Learn how to use hardware wallets. Learn how to use wallets. Learn how to get the hell away from exchanges. Stop using centralized crap. Richard has been telling you this longer than I have. And a lot of you fuckheads still do not learn. If you want to speculate, speculate. Don't act like that shit is something to do otherwise. There's a difference between investing and pissing in the wind. Keep that in mind as we go through this. Now, people haven't been able to withdraw money from Celsius since the 12th of June. Right. Now, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure you couldn't pull out money before that because the network was down and all this craziness was going on. So that's that. Now, if I remember correctly, if you own this coin, you could borrow against your coins or give them up to be borrowed, right? And you will earn yield. Now, how does that work exactly? You guys got to learn how these things work, because this is how you end up in these situations where regulators can come in and just do what they want with your money. Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you think it's crypto or not, because if a regulator says something, the market's going to react to it. And what are you going to do? Because if you don't know, it's not going to matter. Look at the XRP debacle. A lot of people got played on that one. Lots of people dumped their position at a loss just to have it go back up on them because they don't know the regs, they don't know the rules. So, what's rule number one? And Richard says it all the time: no work or profit, no expectations from the work of others. Now, there's a coin out there that's literally predicated on that. I suggest y'all look the fucking other way. Because again, what are we looking at right now on this screen? What are we looking at? More middleman shit. Now, understand the difference between a person trying to get in your money, trying to get in your pocket, and a person trying to advise you. Because it's two different things. It's two different things. It's not the same thing. So again, do your own research, because I can sit here and look it up for you, because I've done all that before, but it clearly don't mean shit. Do your own research. You must. That's the only way you will find success. 3 Arrows Capital, crypto hedge fund, apparently. At one point, they had 3 billion AUM, and of course, they were exposed to the infamous Luna. Apparently, they're already facing what would be, what was that, 20, 500, yeah, 6. So 16% of their book approximately liquidated here. So what's the problem with that? Why does it matter if it's only quote unquote 16%? Right? Was that 400 divided by 3,000? Let's see. 13%. Well, what happens is that if they sell, give me a second, guys. If they sell, right, you already see the market's recovering a little bit. It's looking good. People are hype. They think the bear is over. Good for them. It's not. Well, what happens? A little recovery goes a long way when peeps need to get the hell out of a position that they need to get out of. So if these folks are lucky enough to see 25,000, 28,000 again, do you think they're not going to liquidate some of their positions? Sure. Because it won't be as big of a loss. What's going to happen? They're so big that they're going to expose the market to downside pressure regardless. So what happens? Well, RSI hits that middle band again and bloop, just rolls right over, which is going to coincide with MACD hitting 0 and rolling over again. Because that's just how these things work. Bear markets are bear markets. They don't change on the drop of a dime just because you hope they will. They work themselves out because you had a whole, and I told you guys this while it was happening. You had this top happen in April. You had this other top happen in November. All in the same year. And during this whole time, what did you see? I talked about it. I got a whole stream just on this shit here. Because I told you guys. Because this is how it works. I never lie. Just because you don't know doesn't mean I'm lying. Time teaches and provides clarity. During this whole period of time, they were pumping Bitcoin, pumping it, pumping crypto. Get into this, get into that, NFT this, meme coin that. Yes, of course. Finally, the fanfare grew enough to such a point that people were buying files, JPEGs. This thing here up in the corner, what you're looking at right here, where my mouse is. People were buying these for millions of dollars. And now they're not worth that. Now, if these guys get a recovery period, a debt can't bounce, and they're able to sell some, yeah, they're going to sell some. But what's going to happen is they're going to pressure the rest of their book once they do. So that 13% loss impacts the remaining 87%. So that could ultimately lead to more liquidations because their position is getting smaller and maybe they have more debts on the books that we can't even see that are tied to other positions like these two, because that's how it works. All about the debt. This is why trying to replicate those systems is not crypto. Because anytime you fractionally reserve anything, you're saying that thing has no value in its unitized sense. Does that make sense to a certain extent? Because this is very important. Because your objective is to not end up in a Celsius. Your objective is to not end up in any of these things that you're looking at in front of your screen right now, on your screen right now. That's your objective. It's to not get wrecked, believe it or not. A lot of people choose to get wrecked because of ignorance or desires or just lack of discipline, to put it plain English. That's just what it is. I mean, where do you go when somebody just says, hey, you can't get your money, man? Sorry. And there's no recourse for you whatsoever. None. Where do you go? Yeah, that's right. Nowhere. Ain't nowhere to go. Ain't nowhere to go. This is important to understand. This affects the whole market, right? Like, people react to this stuff. Now, luckily, HEX is decorrelated, so while it might look like it's moving in tandem with the rest of the market, what people don't realize is that HEX topped out first. Topped out in September. Everything else topped out 2 months later. So we're already ahead of the game as always. How about that? So while the rest of the market is languishing, if our bear market lasts a year, well, we're done in 90 days. Well, less than. And if it prolongs, then you can imagine that the Bitcoin one is going to be prolonged as well. But I doubt it, because we don't have the severity of the weight in terms of pickup, right? Because our coin only costs a few cents, 5 cents, versus 30,000 units of a fiat currency. So that's also important to understand. That's a little physics behind that, right? Because if there is weight, then it's a heavier load to lift. That's just how it works. And it works the same way in markets. That's why liquidity pools are important. Understanding liquidity is probably one of the most important things, because a lot of people do not understand it. They think they do. But if you're looking around the space right now, you'll realize that they don't. Because it's all about the continuation of price. It's not just about how it got there. Because prices are going to fluctuate. But how do they behave as they fluctuate? That's what liquidity shows you. Right? Can you get in? Can you get out? When you do so, what happens to the price? You know, what happens when somebody's buying or selling something? What's actually happening? A lot of people don't actually understand that. They claim that they do, but they don't. And let me explain. When two parties are coming to agreement on terms to conduct a transaction in an open market, well, the buyer and the seller must agree to that price. Otherwise, there is no transaction. Period. So, if you're buying Bitcoin at 20,000, or you're buying Hex at 10 cent, whatever it is, what's the next price level? How do you determine that? Right? Like, how do you determine the next price level? Right now, Hex is 5.3 cents, 5.4 if you round up. How do you know what the next price level is going to be? You don't. Only the next buyer and seller do, and that's only when they meet and agree to a price. That is called price discovery. And that is why legacy finance is no longer viable, because there is no such activity over there. Because everybody knows that it's just the Fed pumping. Everybody knows it. Of course, people will deny it because they don't want to admit it. Because it was a 12-year bull market. Who wants that to end? So easy to make money. Can't lose. But yet, everybody does lose. Funny how that works out. That's what it's about, right? It's about winning. Not about losing. So if somebody's buying Hex at 5.3758581 cent, well, what's the next price? Well, if somebody's trying to buy it, a seller might not be willing to sell it at this price. They might say, no. Since you want it, I'm gonna lift that. I'm gonna lift that offer, and you're gonna have to meet me higher. And if that buyer wants it bad enough, they're gonna pull that trigger and they're gonna change that price. That's how it works. So, do you actually know what a Ponzi is then? Most people do not. Most people don't know what a rug pull is. But that is actually the greater fool theory, right? Right there playing out in real time. But the reality is that there really is no greater fool. It's just what the next person is willing to pay and what the next person is willing to sell it for. That is it. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. That's how markets work. This is important to understand, because a lot of guys are out here and girls making assumptions that they don't really understand. And this is what leads people to wreck them. Nothing else. You thinking you know something you don't understand. Prices come from two individuals saying, okay, I like these levels right here. That's it. It's not because somebody said, yeah, this is the price. No, it's not how it works. Two parties come to an agreement and they say, yes, we're going to pull the trigger here. And that's it. Like, that's how it actually works. It's not any other way. So what does that tell you? Do you understand what happens when the price changes now? You know, only you can tell yourself that. Nobody else. Now let's get back to this list. So I've explained how this could lead to further losses, not just for them, but also for the broader market. BlockFi, another lender. So what would these guys do? They would take your coins and give you yields for it, I guess. There's really no other way for them to do it. 15 billion AUM. 15 billion. That's a big number. That's a big number. And remember, Hex is the scam. And these guys need a revolving credit of 250 million. from some research company. I don't even know what that is. I'm guessing it's crypto related, but I don't really know. But that says something. Like, this is happening right now, guys. Like, I'm not making this up, right? I was just talking to myself before for the past 18 months. Now you guys are seeing it in real time. Do not take this lightly. This was literally my christening into finance when I came into the game 14 years ago. Learn these instances and learn them well. This is how you become a knowledgeable individual that knows how to stay away from crap that is no bueno. I mean, how is it that I called Celsius out moment one without knowing much about it? And I still don't know much about it, and I was still right. Because it's not hard. This shit here, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you're seeing that fact play out in real time. Period. BlockFi. Same deal as Celsius. Genesis. I wonder if this is the Genesis that I think it is. So, or hedged all liquid collateral on hand. Losses to be netted against balance sheet, June 17th. So what does that mean? Let me see something. I just need to make sure that it is the right Genesis. Genesis. Oh, come on. Genesis. What's the name of these freaking guys? Digital. Genesis. Is it Genesis Global Trading or Genesis Digital Assets? Let's go with Global Trading. Let's see. Anything comes up. I just need to know if this is. Oh wow, this is the actual Genesis. Oh, okay. So so these guys, while they're on the hot block, these are the type. Okay, so these guys would definitely get a bailout if it comes to that, just because of who these people are tied to. So these people are tied to. If it's the same Genesis, hold on, Genesis. Yep. So Digital Currency Group owns Grayscale. They also own this Genesis Trading entity, which is right here, which apparently more out of no client Genesis is update Meanwhile, various crypto lender Yeah, okay. So they're not tied to BlockFi or 3 Arrows as of yet, but you better believe they are intertwined because these guys are all doing the same crap. Otherwise, this list would not be as long. So, yeah. So these guys, they'll get a bailout because they're tied to Wall Street directly. And by Wall Street, I mean like the Federal Reserve and shit. Look, another lender, Nexo. I don't know anything about these guys, but as you guys can see, oh wait. Let me rewind. So sold or hedged all liquid. This is back to Genesis now. The current status is sold or hedged all liquid collateral on hand. Losses to be netted against balance sheet. So what the hell does this mean? Long story short, they looked at their bank account, said, what do we have disposable that we can sell right now for cash? And they did that. And on the flip side, they're going to attempt to use whatever non-liquid assets they have on their balance sheet to shore up their losses. So I'm guessing they're probably going to borrow more. That's typically what that means when you're not paying for things in cash. It means you're going to borrow more. And as I just told you guys, they're tied directly to the Fed. So those guys will be getting whatever they need. Nexo, crypto lender, claims no exposure to 3 Arrows Capital, but they got $5 billion in debt. Obligation means they got to pay. So if they're not bringing in $5 billion over that period of time where they got to pay those debts back, not looking really good for them, right? Now, here's the thing. Now, why is it that some folks say debt can be a tool used for good when you know how to use it? Well, it's because it's true. But if you don't know how to read the macro environment, not always true. Because what happens? Well, could just be that the lenders to whom which they owe this $5 billion just say, hey, you know what? We're going to need that $5 billion back, and we're going to need that $5 billion back right now. Well, that's where margin calls, credit calls, loan calls, all kind of calls come into play. Calls you ain't even know existed. They come into play. Because what happens is that this money got to come up out of somewhere. So guess what they do? Start dumping assets. And once you go onto these people's platforms, as you guys might have been made aware recently, you no longer own your crypto. It's literally theirs. So they can do whatever they want with it and never give it back to you. And that's how that works. And this is why you don't keep your crypto on an exchange. So Bitmex, crypto exchange, 6 million in exposure to 3AC. Now look, how do these people make money? Well, they got to make a market, number one. And they got to get you to trade, number two. So what good is an exchange for you, an investor or trader, right? Because this is crypto. What's the objective here? Because we already know we're beholden to a system that's literally imploding. So your objective has to be to straddle those two lines as best as possible, but don't miss the boat, which is hard because we got to survive. But this is what we must do. This is why we dollar cost average, because it gives us the most optimal strategy as a person that's not wealthy and all that, right? Like if you don't have a ton of disposable income, over time you can build up a nice sizable position if you just set aside what's for you, right? You got to pay yourself first. Read the Richest Man in Babylon. That's rule number one. Pay yourself first. If you can't pay yourself first, find a way to pay yourself first. This game of life is not for the timid, and it's not for the weak, and it's not for those with what I like to say excuses, right? Like you got to know the difference between a reason and an excuse. Very important life lesson right there. Took me a while to figure that one out, but once you do, it frees you up because you realize it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to mess up. What's not okay is to not pick yourself up and keep on going. And that's the difference, right, between a reason and an excuse. A reason is something you can study and learn from. An excuse is, I just didn't continue because of this. So there you go. So exchanges, use them for what they are. Pass-throughs. They ain't nothing else. You want to trade? Use Uniswap. Don't be using these damn exchanges. Wake the hell up. Finblocks. Never heard of this. Some type of yield platform. Clearly, you got to give up your keys for sure because they're not giving you anything for free. I guess you can't withdraw as much as you used to. Don't know, but they're on this list, so they're in hot water, and they're just not disclosing what that hot water is. And neither is Genesis, so maybe they're tied to whoever these people are tied to, because everybody else seems to be giving away the goods. So Babel, 3 billion loan book, end of 2021. Now, it's damn near July 2022. So you could probably say that that is down 50%, right? Now, why won't they say that? Why won't they say that their book is down 50%? This is important to understand because this is all part of their game. Now, if it so happens that this company goes belly up, well, the investors need to recoup as much, the investors and creditors, per the guidelines, right, of the documentations that they signed when they made their investments. They need to be able to recover as much as possible. So if they're able to get away with a certain date, they will. Because what happens is if they go by the end of 2021, that 3 billion is 3 billion. But what happens if all of a sudden people start checking dates and saying, hold on, man, let's go from January 21st to today. Or hell, let's be gracious and give you yesterday, which was a green day. Well, that 3 billion is down 55%, assuming it's all in Bitcoin and Bitcoin related tied assets, which we're going to go on ahead and say, yeah, it is. So that 3 billion has swiftly become 1.4. They're not as valuable anymore. Poof. Because you have to remember, these guys aren't operating on crypto terms, they're operating on fiat terms. So while you are thinking crypto, they don't give a rat's ass about crypto. They're just taking your fiat. All these middlemen that are professing to be involved in bringing forward and connecting the world to crypto with the real world and all this and all, they ain't doing that. Only crypto insiders can do that. That's why MCA was made. That's why the trust was made. Why do you think nothing has happened since 2010, 12, whenever the hell all these things were made? There's a reason for that. Pay attention. Because all these things that Hexagons are building, that is the future of crypto. Because it is the only thing doing crypto. Oh my God. How about that? Yeah, that's exactly the point. All these entities that you're looking at right here are tied to all those promise coins you're out there hearing about. All of them. They're all tied. Because if you go look up any one of them, what are you going to find? Them on that list. So what you see in all the quote unquote reputable sites for crypto, yes? But what's the funny thing? Well, the funny thing is that those so-called reputable sites are really not. They're just shilling scams. I mean, need we say more? I mean, come on, Babel Finance. I mean, what the fuck is that? Suspend withdrawals, preliminary agreements with counterparties. Oh boy. All right. So what is counterparty risk? Because I'm sure as hell doing a lot of talking about that, but I don't think I've explained what that is. Well, counterparty risk is pretty straightforward. Let's say you want to borrow some wood from your neighbor. But your neighbor says, hey man, you're always trying to borrow stuff from me. I'm kind of tired of giving you stuff. I'm going to need something in return this time from you. And, turns out you really don't got nothing. Whatever you got really isn't of value. And, they don't really know that. You're able to pass it off on them as if it is something of value. Well, what happens is that if they try to trade that thing of supposed X value in, and then it turns out to be X minus Y value, well, they just got played because you took that wood and you use it already, and there's nothing they can do about it. Boom. Right? So it can happen in any way. And this is what people gotta learn. Like, this is how you steer clear of the wreckage. This is how you steer clear of the Celsiuses and all that stuff. All these things that can get lined up by regulators. You gotta stay clear of them. Now, if any middleman is involved in any way, shape, or form where you got a KYC to any degree, that means that is not crypto and there are middlemen involved. Turn around, go elsewhere. You're not getting anything there except this that you're looking at on the screen right now. That's all you're going to get. And this is what you're not trying to get. You're trying to make money, right? Of course. We got to learn, guys, because this is how we steer clear of getting mopped up like we don't matter and getting tossed aside when all we're trying to do is make our way in this world. But you got to realize people out here don't care. They really do not. Hold on, guys. All right. So you didn't hear me when I said use the exchanges as they're supposed to be used. That's the answer to your question. I didn't say nothing else. So clearly exchanges are where we have to off ramp. Unless you got somewhere else to off ramp and on ramp, then that's what you got to use, bro. It's pretty straightforward. But if you're keeping your coins there, you get what you deserve. That's the point. So again, Babel, just with the name alone, just come on. Orthogonal. Who the hell even, the average person doesn't have a clue what that means. And that just means a right angle. This means 90-degree angle, 45 or whatever. I can't even remember anymore. I'm pretty sure it's a right angle. Exposed the Babel Finance. Why? Because they leveraged up their book. Wrecked. Maple Finance, lender. Exposure, 10 million USDC pool. Exposed, 10 million to Babel Finance. Oh, that's that contagion thing I've talked about before. Wrecked. Voyager Digital, broker. A crypto broker. Now, as I talked about before, brokers, exchanges, they're just making markets. Somehow, they made a $720 million loan in BTC and USD to 3AC. Wrecked. CoinFlex, never heard of this crap. Futures crypto exchange. Now, if that ain't the biggest lie I ever heard, I don't know what is. Yeah, right angle. I don't know what is. Ain't no damn futures in crypto, bro. This shit don't even make no sense. If it's not on chain, it ain't crypto. It's somebody's little casino, and that's all you get. No problem, man. Get your questions ready because I'm gonna do a little Q&A. So not on chain, not crypto. So what's the lesson here outside of, all these companies got wrecked? Well, the lesson is if there's somebody on the other side of your trades that isn't software, then that isn't crypto. You just engage in speculation and in a securitized product or a security, whether you like it or not. You don't got to take my word for it. Reality of the market's reaction to what you did, that's exactly what your end result is. Wreckage. Wreckage. Because what's the point of the crypto market or of the crypto system as a whole? The whole point of it is to elude these middlemen that think that they can sway shit with their fucking money. They don't matter. Billionaires and trillionaires and all these people that got money now, they don't matter. They don't matter anymore. They're irrelevant. And that only becomes true in that so far as you educate yourself. Because if you continue to let yourself get swayed by these fools that think they know something when they clearly don't know dick, well, you're going to continue to follow them into the very pits of hell where there is no money and just wreckage. And that's what most people are doing. This is how they end up discovering Hex in the midst of a bear market. Because that's how it goes. Nobody really wants to put in work. And then when they get exposed, they're like, damn, I should have put in that work. Yep, but it's too late now. Too late now. Because now your ass is wrecked. And it's not what you were looking for. But counterparty risk is when you take a trade or a position based on somebody else's book and it doesn't work out for you, like it didn't work out for Voyager and Maple and Orthogonal, all because of Babel. And who knows how tied in Babel is with all this other stuff, because you better believe they're gonna be. Why wouldn't they be? Yeah, it's kind of funny that people just don't realize shit ain't crypto. Nah. Oh, lucky guy. Lucky guy. So, bit of advice. The best bit of advice I could tell you is read anything and everything related to markets. You're young, you're 19. Learn how to play the game now, and you will never, ever have to worry about a thing in your 30s. That's a true statement. Understand that time is on your side. Understand that time is what provides clarity. Understand that time is what pays you. This is exactly why Hex exists. Learn why the fiat system fails repeatedly. Once you learn that, you will never turn back. This is why I can speak the way I do about the things that I speak on. I know full well what I'm saying is a fact every time I say it when it comes to these markets. It's exactly why I'm consistently correct. It's not a bragging thing. It's just how shit works. Simply put, it's just how shit works. You either want to be correct and make the money, or you want to be the liquidity for people making the money. That's right. We're gonna go into this. In fact, let's do a little bit of this right now. Might as well, because you're gonna see all that right here, because this is exactly what's going on. FTX, anybody that has money, anybody that's tied in, they're not buying all of these broken entities. Very, very important. I mean, all this stuff is tied together, right? All of it. Let's see. Yeah. So much other crap going on. It might be a little crazy trying to find stuff up in here. We'll go over some of that too. Won't try to go too long. Let me just see if I can find some crypto stuff on here. Guess not. We can go to Watcher Guru, I guess. Yeah. do. So yeah, there's just so much going on in the space. Goldman Sachs is trying to buy up shit now. Like, it's just crazy, right? And what is all of that coming from? That comes from people getting lined up, literally. And I warned people for a year. Like, I wasn't joking. Interesting. I don't know who this guy is, but I just find it supremely interesting that all of a sudden, all these folks are now magically pro crypto. Magic. Well, look, I don't know how long you've been around, but I did a stream on CBDCs over a year ago. Obviously, that's where they were going. Why wouldn't they? They have to try to find a way to embed themselves into the system. But end of alternative crypto assets, no, because they can't touch actual cryptocurrency. Cannot be touched, cannot be stopped. You guys gotta learn that. Like, there is no FUD that works against real crypto. If you don't know that, then you don't understand cryptocurrency yet. This guy's a lame. Like, I don't care what he says. He's just a dud. He doesn't do shit. Irrelevant. 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 Oh. Hold on. This is funny. 20,000 different cryptos. Really? Really? Are there really 20,000 different cryptos? Or are there 20,000 differently named copy paste things that you think are cryptos? And yet the truth eludes us once again. I mean, it's stuff like that that just makes me cringe. Irrelevant. Irrelevant. Oh, wait. Do you guys understand what this means? So this is a function of demand, right? People ain't buying Bitcoin and that electricity isn't going up. That hash rate isn't going up. If that hash rate isn't going up, the difficulty of mining isn't going up. If that difficulty of mining isn't going up, then the value of the coin isn't going up. That's literally how Bitcoin works. Period. Debate me. I fucking dare you. It's a damn equation. Because these fools that think they know Bitcoin don't even know that. It's hilarious. It's freaking hilarious. Let's see. Whatever. 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 Albania will reportedly start applying a 15% tax on, hold on crypto earnings in 2023. Now I gotta ask you guys, how are they gonna know? Who's gonna tell them? Are you gonna volunteer that information? Is that how that's gonna work? Because if that's the case, then you're a fool if you ever pay a cent. Because who's gonna tell them? You? Clearly it's illegal what they're doing. It's unlawful. Let me rephrase. Clearly what they're doing is unlawful. Why would you abide with something that's unlawful? Why would you allow your money to be taken from you? Why would you just give it up? Why would you consent to that? You got to have a very good reason to do that. Voluntarily, right? There's a difference between doing it as an individual and doing it as an entity. You got to know the difference. Because again, you as your person are giving up something when you do that. And this is why being educated is important. I can sit here and tell you, but it's not going to mean anything until you actually understand everything else underlying that statement. Because what good would the answer be to you if you don't really have the capacity to understand the issue at hand in the first place? It's almost a moot point. But again, This is why they can get away with these things, because you don't know your basic rights. You don't know your basic rights. And that's how they get away with all this. Because what do? Make these unlawful quote unquote regulations that you think are law, which are not. And here you are doing something illegal that you shouldn't even be doing, something unlawful that you shouldn't be doing. And all you're doing is perpetrating the fraud for them. And you don't even have a clue. And that's called manufacturing consent. And it happens every day. Literally. You got a driver's license, you just consented to being a slave just by doing that. Because there's plenty of case law that literally dictates you don't need a license. How about that one? I mean, there's so much misinformation out here in regards to the real world that people like me will always sound crazy, because we actually read and educate ourselves. And I'm not special. Plenty of people out there like me. How else would I be finding most of this information? It's not like I'm making it up. So let's see. Fake stuff, whatever. Brazilian federal police have partnered with Binance to receive. Woo! Okay. I'm gonna just read this one and all right. Brazilian federal police have partnered with Binance of all entities to receive training focused on crypto, blockchain, and anti-money laundering. I guess they weren't doing it before that. Interesting. Yeah, whatever. More bootleg stuff there. Yes. So here we go. Magically, the sacks of gold are reportedly raising $2 billion in USD to buy up Celsius assets in the event of a bankruptcy. I wonder how they know a bankruptcy could materialize. How can they see the future? Pretty wild stuff, if you ask me. Crazy, no? Yeah. But that's how the game is played. Right? This is all about playing this game. And the game is who gets the most money. That's all it is. Because that's how our world is structured, right? So you gotta keep that in mind. Because these guys are just vultures. Now they're about to buy up whatever fugazi crypto assets Celsius had on the cheap, and they're just headlining $2 billion. Odds are it won't cost them that. It could probably cost them $250 million, if that, if not $200 million. And if it's worth $2 billion, is it really? Probably not. No, not off of a headline. Whatever. So hey, if you've ever seen the movie of Wall Street, this is exactly how the movie Wall Street, Gordon Gekko and all of that. His character is based on this gentleman called Carl Icahn, and really other folks like him from his era of the 1980s who were just corporate raiders. They would just run around rummaging, buying companies, and then selling them for scraps. Right? It could be that Goldman does that to a Celsius, because I don't really understand what assets they can have. I mean, I don't know. Just thinking out loud here, because I don't get it. Just a whole weird thing here. I don't quite get it, but we'll see. This doesn't even make any sense, but all right. Somehow you collected 3.3 billion in fines from an industry which isn't regulated at all. So I don't really know how you're collecting any fines, but tell yourself whatever you got to do. Whatever. Bitpanda lays off. Oh, cool. Another company laying off hundreds of people from crypto when you just can't even find people to work for you anywhere else. Like, cool. That makes sense. FTX is in talks to acquire a stake in BlockFi. This was yesterday at 11:43 Eastern Standard Time in the morning. So, as you guys can see, anybody that's tied to the system can have their pick. Just like you had Bear Stearns and Lehman, right? Fall off the wayside. How did that happen? Why did that happen? That happens because they weren't towing the line. And that is, while a proverbial statement, also literal, right? Because otherwise they would exist. Because all those other Wall Street firms were in worse position and they're still around. Deutsche Bank comes to mind. These things do not happen by mistake, guys. They happen on purpose. And this is something you guys got to realize, because this is what I've been trying to teach you guys for the past year. So these types of events are the end result of all the fuckery I've been educating you guys on for the past year and a half. Maybe not. Maybe not. And if they quote unquote buy them, are they really buying them, or are they just custodying them to then dispose of them and collect a fiat? That's more likely what's happening here. Because again, Celsius is what? A lender. Let me see if I can open that thing. No. Nope. Can't open it, so it's fine. But Celsius is a lender. So not sure how that would work out, but whoever has coins there, if that stuff gets sold, those coins will get bought, sure, but in a block fashion, and they'll be disposed of in the same way. It's not going to be like a whole, oh, Goma's going to become this whole crypto thing. If it does, it's not going to be it's not going to be anything like, I don't know. It would be interesting to see them enter the space, but just don't see how they would. Just don't see it. Like, who would use them and for what? Why? Don't know. Unless it's for like their own purposes, right? Like, what's the advantage? It's a weird thing. So let's see what else. Nothing important, but here, Apple Pay getting more embedded in crypto. Whatever. I thought this was funny, because it's really, you don't need to do that. It's open source, but cool. Whatever you got to tell yourself. More unimportant stuff. Parliament proposed a bill to fine those who illegally issue or exchange crypto, but you can actually do it legally. So I don't fucking get it. I don't know what's going on over there. It's like weird headline central over there. That's what's going on. We're gonna skip that. Yeah. See, so nah, we're gonna skip that. So here we go. Fed Chairman Powell states central bank digital currency is something we really need to explore as a country. Now, if they're saying it needs to be explored, then it already exists. Question is, what is it? What is the CBDC? Is it USDC or is it something else? We don't know. All we do know is that the biggest asset manager on the planet, which manages the assets for the Vatican, now manages the assets for USDC. What a coinky dink. I wonder how that relationship materialized. They must have met at a golf club or something, just having a grand old time. Funny how that happened, though. All in 2022. All in 2022, folks. Beautiful thing, isn't it? All this crypto and all this counterparty risk that doesn't actually exist in crypto. So it's not actually crypto. That's the lesson. Whoever's engaging in any of this stuff that's tied to this, where there's middlemen and all of that, not crypto. Just really not. And that's something you got to take to the bank, because you seen that list. I mean, there must have been at least 25 billion in exposure there to the downside, if not more. If not more. Now, when you think about markets and debt and all this, it's stated that the the economy owes, I don't know how many trillions in debt to somebody. And the running joke is, to who? How can the world be in debt to itself? And that's the kind of thing that, as an individual, you need to figure out. Because only you can really determine what makes sense and what doesn't in your head. And here's the thing. When you're fed constant lies, you don't know what makes sense and what doesn't in your head. You're just going off of lies. This is why educating yourself is important. Now, it's not the hottest topic, but guess what? Eventually, all the people that get wrecked over and over and over in crypto, they're either going to leave it or they're going to get educated, because there is no other way. You don't know what a blockchain is. You don't know what an asset is. You don't know what a liability is. Market going to teach you. Don't worry. Market got no problem teaching. So, get that. Get it right. Because the CBDCs are coming. And they're trying to find a way in any which way that they can. And if you expose yourself in any which way, that's on you. It's not on anybody else. Not on anybody else. Another one, 100 million. It's just a joke, man. And I told you guys, they were normalizing this a while ago. And I told you guys this was coming. And here we are. This is a joke. Oh, this is funny. This is real funny. I mean, this is a straight joke. Sucks if you live in the Netherlands and use Coinbase, which would be weird. But it looks like that's pretty much it for now. I mean, this is how it works, right? Binance partnering with Cristiano Ronaldo. Famous soccer player. Don't know shit about crypto, though. So now, he's just another show. Tough. But it's the way it works. Let's see. I'm gonna just leave this here for a little while so you guys can read it and feel sorry for whoever's in Luna. Because I mean, this is just a slap in the face of all fucking proportions. Just slap in the face. Imagine getting rug pulled by a coin founder, and that fucker having the gall, the audacity to A, do a public interview, and B, make this statement. I mean, if this is okay, then we all need to start doing rug pulls. Clearly. Get our own billions, right? I don't know. I don't even know what to say to this. This is just crazy that people even think this shit is okay. It's not. Period. And whoever's out there shilling this shit deserves a burn. 100,000 degrees. And I mean, this is funny. This pleb talking shit. Same fucker that was shilling all this crap. I mean, these are all the same people shilling all this shit talking like they got room to talk. So it's cute. You know what I mean? Because they all looking stupid. Someone transferred $91 million in Bitcoin and paid a 39-cent fee. I wonder how long it took him for that transaction to go through. Look at this. KuCoin has been permanently banned from participating in the Ontario market. Now, I don't know how this is possible, but I guess if they're out there running a Binance type setup, then sure. But if they're not, interesting. MasterCard has reported that 51% of consumers in Latin America have already made a transaction with crypto. Something to think about, folks. Something to think about. Nobody cares. You guys might, but I don't. So, Hex is looking good. Question is, will it keep going? Answer is, we don't know. It depends how many stupid sellers we have left, more than anything else, because that's how markets work. When people are done selling, stupidly, price will skyrocket how it's supposed to and how it usually does. And if you ain't been around, you don't know how Hex moves, and you'll see what we mean when we say low liquidity, right? But I mean, the funny thing about Hex is it's really on time liquidity. Get the liquidity when you need it. It's always there. Might not be sitting there, but it'll show up eventually. Because guess what? There's always buyers in this market. Just like there's always sellers. Something to think about. Something to think about. Because guess what? Markets don't care. They're going to run up and they're going to run down. And this is why you got to know what you're doing. This is why you got to take this information, study it, verify, make sure it makes sense to you. Because it makes sense to me, but I'm not on demand like liquidity is. So you better get right. Because that's how real life works. That's why you train to fight. You don't just go and fight. You train to fight. Right? Very important distinction to understand, because this is what's going to make or break your future. It's the actions that you take today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Hold on, guys. Hello. So yeah, keep these thoughts in mind, right? All these things I've been talking about today, counterparty risk is major. Counterparty risk is why everybody knows Sailor's position, outside of the fact that he's been talking about it. So understand the game, Understand counterparty risk is not why crypto exists. So it's not crypto if there's counterparty risk involved. Just not. Now, to finish this stream off, we're going to go over a couple things that people need to understand. Now, I've gone over this stuff before, but it's pretty important, so let's go over it again. First Amendment, right to free speech, religion, press, assembly. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Arms. Right to bear, hold on, man. Right to bear arms. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, what that means is nobody can stop you from owning a weapon. Nobody. Doesn't matter what little funky law they pass in your state. Because it is your right to defend yourself as a human being. That's why you got hands. That's why you got legs. That's why you got eyes. That's why you got ears. That's why you got a mouth. That's why you got fingers. That's why you got nails. That's why you got teeth. That's why you got bones. So you can defend yourself when harm comes your way. Did you know that your body is a weapon as well? Are they going to make your body illegal, unlawful? They can't. They cannot. What does the First Amendment say? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, we can't even do this, it seems like, nowadays. But that's not the case. What happens is that people just don't know what they don't know the rules of the game, so they can't play it, simply put. Second Amendment states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a what? Free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall what? Not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. Now, the Supreme Court just struck down some nonsense that the state of New York was trying to pass. Now, why did they strike it down? Because it's unconstitutional. Because as a person, you have the right to protect yourself, to defend yourself, period. The problem is that we, the people, do not keep the state accountable whatsoever because we don't know the rules to the game. That's the actual problem. Something to think about. We'll read up to the Fourth Amendment and then we'll wrap it up. In time of peace, this is the Third Amendment. No soldier shall take up residence in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner prescribed by law. So nobody can come and encroach on your personal property if they're in the military. Military. Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, which apparently doesn't really exist anymore because you're guilty until proven innocent nowadays. Supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. This is an interesting statement because is it American? I say it's not. In fact, I don't consider myself an American. I don't consider myself anything but a freaking person. Because the biggest problem we have is this idea that we're all different. When in fact, we're fucking not. We're not. Everybody wants to live. Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to eat. Nobody wants to starve. Everybody wants to be economically well off. Nobody wants to be broke. The issue is that we display those things outwardly differently for whatever reason. That is all. At the end of the day, still the same. You bleed the same. You die the same. You're born the same. You eat the same. You breathe the same. These are your basic Bill of Rights. This is not beholden to any country. This is beholden to you as an individual that has your own capacity. You are your own vessel. However, in our legal system, you ain't your own vessel. You're dead. You don't stand a chance. This is why no justice is ever served upon you. There is no actual equity in our justice system. Common misconception. How else will people end up in jail that clearly don't belong there, while the ones that do get to run amok? Something to think about. So again, these Bill of Rights, they're not an American thing. Very common misconception. These Bill of Rights are your basic human rights. Don't matter where you are. If you don't respect yourself, nobody else will. So if you don't know your rights, you don't know your 3 feet, you don't know all these things, somebody's going to play you and they're going to take you for the sucker that you are because you don't educate yourself. Understand the name of the game and you will not get played. If you don't understand the name of the game, you will get played. Know your rights. Nobody can take anything away from you that's listed right here. Basic Bill of Rights. Everything after this, added on after the fact. Consider these your 10 commandments. These are your unalienable rights. No state, no government can put a lien on you. You are a free person. That's what this actually means. It's not a fucking document. These are facts of life. And people get it confused because they hear some bullshit that's sold to them at some point in time. But no. As a human being that lives and stands and breathes and can be capable of thinking for their own well-being, you have your own rights to secure, to speak, to defend, to protect your own territory, to stand your ground, to not incriminate yourself, to have the right to a speedy trial. All these things. You have basic rights, people. No country gives you that. No man gives you that. You are born with them. Learn them or get left behind. Just like if you don't learn crypto, your ass will get left behind. Inalienable and unalienable are two different things. Learn them. Educate yourself. The world is real. People die for no reason out here. You're out here worrying about a couple dollars and a couple cents. People out here worrying about their livelihoods, their lives. Educate yourself. You got no reason not to be educated. Know your basic human rights. It's nobody's fault but your own that you ever took a jab, that you ever took a test, that all of this stuff happened because we let it happen. Simply put. And guess what? I can't do shit by myself because I just sound like a crazy man if you don't know how to read. So if anybody's at fault, it's those that choose not to read and educate themselves and exercise the knowledge that they contain or that they do attain over time. Know your basic human rights. This is not some document some man gave you. That shit don't matter. These are the facts of life. You are more than welcome to defend yourself. If you don't want to, well, then you suffer the consequences. You're more than welcome not to incriminate yourself. If you want to, well, then you're more than welcome. People will always find a reason, right? So don't give them one because they don't deserve one if they're not educated. And if you are, well, then they will lose. You've seen it real time. That's exactly how it works. Understand your Bill of Rights, folks, your basic human rights. Because that is what's going to save your ass, not anything else. Counterparty risk, not crypto. Proven. Know your basic human rights. Nobody can stop you from transacting in whatever you want to transact in. All they can do is lie to you and get you to manufacture fake consent. That's it. Get your mind right, and your pocket will be just as flush. Everybody have an outstanding Saturday night. Peace. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the secret. The guy well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. Man, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all deep. Everybody. My God.